people like Mitch McConnell and others who believe it should be a layup or a short touchdown run, to put it in Herschel Walker terms, to take the Senate back. But with candidates like some of the ones we're seeing, they know that that may not happen. There's a reason that the National Republican Party is rushing in advisors and aides and debate prep people to get around Herschel Walker, because when he's on a stage outside of a primary next to Senator Warnock, it may not be pretty for him. And it'll be a test, as you know, very well coming from Mississippi, of the power of football and of celebrity in politics. Is that enough to carry Herschel Walker, despite all of his problems, into the United States Senate?
You know, Willie, before we went and did our Morning Joe focus groups in Georgia, I watched pretty much all of Herschel Walker's ads. And watching those ads, you really feel, wow, you're brought back into, his athletic legacy. And for a second, I was just like, oh, wow. And then I remembered, oh, this is Herschel Walker, who has no policy chops whatsoever and has, questionable mental fitness. And then that's what we actually heard from our Republican voters, that they were concerned about Herschel Walker's mental fitness. And they thought that there were a lot of things that were problematic in his background. And this was before the primary. And that kind of doubt is really a blinking red siren. And it's one that certainly Mitch McConnell saw, and there was nothing he could really do about it, because Herschel Walker was Donald Trump's candidate. So you're looking at a Georgia Senate seat that should have gone Republican, that twice it's probably not going to, because of Donald Trump.
Boy, it's remarkable what Donald Trump's done to the state of Georgia. He, of course, lost it in 2020. He started a scandal down there now with his stupid calls to the Secretary of State. He got obliterated. His candidates got obliterated a couple of months ago. And, of course, he turned the Senate over away from Mitch McConnell over to Chuck Schumer by going in and just destroying the Republicans' chances in December of 2020 with those two special elections. And it continues now with Herschel Walker. But before we go to break on this, Michael Steele, it's very important. I want to underline this fact. Republicans had a choice. In every one of these states that we're talking about, they had a choice to pick an arch conservative, to pick somebody who said they supported Donald Trump, to pick a pro-life candidate, to pick a pro-Second Amendment rights candidate, to pick a pro-free market candidate, to pick a capitalist. Yeah, in all of these places, you had Dave McCormick in Pennsylvania, but they picked a freak in Dr. Oz. You had Matt Dolan in Ohio. They picked this hypocrite, J.D. Vance, who's acting like a freak, talking about stolen elections in Ohio. So Republicans had this is not about us going, oh, they can never win because they're pro-life or pro-gun. No, right. Those are the candidates that win in Georgia. Those are the candidates that win in North Carolina. Those are the candidates that win in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin. But they didn't pick the rational, reasonable candidates. They picked insurrectionists, wackos, freaks, and conspiracy theorists. So let's just be very clear here, from one former Republican to a current Republican. We're not talking about their policy positions, their mainstream policy positions that are hurting them. We're talking about the fact that these people are weirdos.
Well, all of that is right. And it does remind me to all of that's exactly right. And here's why it's so important to understand what Joe just said, because when you go back and people they're making the comparison to 2010. I know 2010 well. I had to deal with some candidates who were, how should we say, a little freakish of their own. What I did as a national chairman, along working with my state party leadership in the various states, was, okay, we've done enough crazy. We're not doing that anymore. We're going to focus on taking the policy battle to the Democrats on climate, on the big topic of the day, healthcare. Joe, the party has abandoned that. Candidates can't talk about that because there's no position on any of those issues that you mentioned. You got Herschel Walker out there basically talking about the Republican position on the climate. oh, well, good air
God.
leaves America and goes to China, and we get China's bad air. And everybody in the room is like, yeah, that's what we do.
Well,
so, you know, So what do you think is going to happen if you're Mitch McConnell and you're sitting there looking at it again? Well, A, we don't need that in the Senate, and B, with that, we're not getting the Senate.